Hey everybody, welcome back to lesson 7 of Conquering Algebra 2. Two concepts in this lesson. We're going to be talking about percents, mostly dealing with word problems, and then we're also going to talk about creating equations with geometry. Most of what we're going to be dealing with in this lesson is going to be angles. So first part, dealing with percent. Before we start diving into actual practice problems, I want to communicate a concept is very similar to whenever we're looking for a fraction part or a decimal part of the story problem. In this case, we're just dealing with a percent instead. So same format, what percent of blank is blank? And again, of and is translates to multiply and equals. So same concept, let's do some practice. Okay, so our first example is 18 is 20% of what number? So they've already given us the format for our equation. We just have to actually take those words and turn them into math symbols and numbers. So 18 is means equals 20%. I'm gonna save that just for a moment. Of is multiply, and instead of what number is my unknown? There's different ways that I could write this. I could say X, or I could say N, but your book is going to note it as what number. And this is what we call a subscripted variable, is where we have a normal size W and then the N. Instead of an exponent being up high, it's going to be below. So it's a subscript variable. So here, 20%. We can't compute things in percent form. We need to convert that either into a fraction form or a decimal form. I know, I said I don't like either, but in this case, I have to make the exception because that is how math works. So we're going to convert 20% into a decimal. So it's going to be 0.2. Okay, and so now from here, we have a fairly simple problem. We're just trying to get what number by itself. So right now 0.2 is being multiplied, so I'm going to divide. And so what we end up with is 18 divided by 0.2. So what number equals 90? Okay, so your book will say after this that they also want a diagram. I personally will not grade you on your diagram, but if you are a visual person, a diagram can be very helpful as far as piecing things together and seeing, does that make sense? So we're still going to draw a diagram just so we can get an idea of what that's going to look like, but just know that I won't be grading you on that. That's not part of the required work that you have to do for my class when turning in your Algebra 2 homework. So let's take a look. We have two circles. One is going to represent our total, our 100%. And the other one is going to represent the portions. And so here we see that 18 is 20%, so it's going to be the smaller portion. Okay, we don't know what this bigger portion is, but we do know that it is 80% because 20% plus 80% equals 100, the total. Okay, and so the 100 of, and we figured it out that it is 90. So if this part is 90 and this part is 18, we can subtract that to find out what this 80% is, and it is going to be 72. And this is the diagram portion that they were wanting us to do. But like I said, you don't have to do that part for your homework. This just helps you piece it together. That's all. Our next example is a little different. It says 1500 is what percent of 250? Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, wait a minute, 1500 is far bigger than 250. So this is not going to look like our last example from the diagram perspective. The last one we did, our first circle was 100% and our second circle was still a full circle, but it was split in two. This one is greater than that. So it would actually be like 2 circles or 3 circles combined. So not the same situation, but I'm gonna keep that in mind as I solve this problem because my percentage should be probably something greater than 100 because 1500 is greater than 250. So let's go ahead and first let's set this up into an equation and let's solve, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I need. So 1500 equals what percent, so we're going to do a subscripted variable of WP. Of is multiply, and then 250. All right. Same situation as our last problem. We got to get our variable by itself, so we're going to divide by 250. Okay, and so what percent equals 6? Now we're dealing with a percent. So this answer is not actually 6%, it's 600% because there's a decimal here and we have to move it 2 decimal places to put this in percent format. So 600% is our answer. If we were to diagram, it would look something like this. So as you can see, our lower one is going to be more like a cloud because it's more than just one circle. It's multiple circles because it's 600%. The second concept in this lesson is dealing with equations for geometry. Mostly going to be working with the known facts that we've already gone over in our review and in the earlier lessons of this book. Dealing a lot with, we know that all 3 angles of a triangle are going to equal up to 180. We know that a straight angle equals 180 degrees. We know that a right angle equals 90 degrees. We're going to use facts like that, rules that we know about transversals and corresponding angles. All of those rules are going to be applied here to help solve for unknowns. So let's do some practice. In this first one, we have a triangle, and the instructions don't say find the 3 angles. It says find x. So we know that all 3 of these angles combined is going to equal 180 degrees. So what I can do is I can set this up for angle A plus angle B plus angle C is going to equal 180 degrees. But instead of writing the angle letters, I'm going to write these measurements. Now, they're not actual measurements yet because we haven't solved for x, but it works. So we have 2x plus 2 plus 7x plus 18 plus 6x plus 10 equals 180 degrees. And from here, we're just going to add our like terms. So we have 2x, 7x, and 6x. They're all positive. Same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign. So we have 2 plus 7, that's 9, plus 6 is 15x. Okay, and then we have plus 2 plus 18, that's 20, plus 10 is going to be plus 30, equals 180 degrees. So we're going to subtract 30, and we get 15x equals 150. Divide by 15. So x equals 10. So if I take 10 and I plug it in to all 3 of these, I will find all 3 of these angles. But that's not what the question asks us to do. All they want us to do is find x, which we did, so we're done. In our next example, we're dealing with a transversal. And the reason why I know this is a transversal is because all 4 of these lines have that arrow within the line segment, which tells me that they are parallel. So I know that this is a straight line, this, and this. And I see that I have one obtuse angle and one acute angle. They both have an unknown of x, but I do know that if I were to put those 2 together, my obtuse and my acute, they're going to equal a straight angle, which is 180 degrees. So I can say this angle plus this angle will equal 180 degrees, very similar to our last equation whenever we were dealing with the 3 angles of a triangle. So let's set that up. Now that we have our equation set up, we can add like terms and solve for x. So we have 4x plus 3x, so 7x plus 33 equals 180. Then we got to subtract 33, change side, 7x equals 147, and then we're going to divide by 7, and x equals 21. Okay, so now I want to go back to my problem and I want to read again what the book is asking me to do. First thing it wants me to do is find the measure of x, which I did, so check, that part's done. But then it goes one step further in this example and it says, find the measure of the smaller angle and the larger angle, which we know as the acute angle and the obtuse angle. So, let's say this was problem number 6 on our homework. First thing I'm going to do is write x equals 21. And then I'm going to take 21 and I'm going to plug it in right here. So 3 times 21 is going to be 63. So 63 degrees, and then I'm also going to take 21 and plug it in here. So we have 4 times 21 plus 33. So 4 times 21 is 84 plus 33 is going to be 117 degrees. Okay, to double check my work, I can add these two angles together, and when I do, they should equal 180, which they do. So I'm done. Our last example in this lesson is structured very differently. Instead of it being a transversal or a triangle, instead we see that we have a straight line and we have 4 angles, and then the problem says that the measures of angles A, B, C, and D are a ratio of 1, 2, 4, 2. And anytime your book lists something like that, know that they are listing it in order respectively. So the 1 is going to apply to A, 2 to B, 4 to C, and 2 to D. And since they don't really give us anything else to work with, what we can do is we can say 1x, 2x, 4x, 2x. So let's go ahead and set that up. Now that we have something a little bit more similar to what we're used to looking at, we can set this up to add all 4 of these angles to 180. And after we get to this point, we can just add like terms. So I have 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2, so that's going to be 9x equals 180 degrees. Divide by 9. So x equals 20 degrees. So that's this one. Okay, so that means angle B is going to be 40 degrees. C is going to be 80 degrees. And D will also be 40 degrees. So the question is asking us to find the measure of all 4 angles, which we have. So we have finished this problem. And that's all for lesson 7, so we're done. I'll see you guys in class.